I'm Ian Deary. I'm Professor of Differential Psychology at the University of Edinburgh, and I'm Director of the Medical Research Council Centre for Cognitive Ageing and Cognitive Epidemiology at the University of Edinburgh. I have two main aims. On the first of them, I want to understand why some people's brains and thinking skills age better than others. So I want to find out the various lifestyle, environmental and possibly genetic contributions to why some people weather the aging process better than others, especially with regard to how good their thinking skills are in older age. The second aim is to find out why it is that people who score better on mental tests, cognitive tests early in life seem to live longer, have fewer chronic diseases and have better health and health behaviours during life. In order to achieve these aims, understanding cognitive and brain ageing, for example, we've got the Lothian birth cohorts who took mental tests when they were age 11 and we're now following them up in their 70s, 80s and 90s. And they're said to be some of the most deeply understood cohorts in the world with regard to the number of cognitive tests, medical tests, brain imaging, genetic information and blood tests that they've undertaken as well. And that brings with it the problem of needing huge amounts of storage and manipulation capacity in order to look at all of the data, especially the genetic and the brain imaging data take massive amounts of A, storage and B, manipulation as well.
So I'm Dr. Simon Cox. I'm a research associate in brain imaging and cognitive aging at the centre. One of the real benefits to being part of the centre is the massive amount of computational power we have here. So the brain imaging that we analyse here at the centre comes from all over the world. We have all sorts of different projects running, and we take brain scans from studies like the Lothian birth cohorts and UK Biobank within the UK. And it requires a huge amount of processing. So to give you an example, when we run some parcellations of the outer cortex of the brain, so we divide up into different regions for analysis. If you were to run that on my laptop or my computer on my desk, it'd probably take about between 12 hours and a day to do one participant. When you consider that we have, for UK Biobank, now about 11,000 participants, it becomes prohibitive to do that unless you have the computational power. And we do. So now, with the systems that we've got in place, we can realistically deal with these large volumes of data, put them through very, very quickly, process them and analyse them, and it gives us a jump on the competition in datasets like UK Biobank, where it's open source data, it's open access data.
My name's Paul Sainsbury. I'm a Senior Account Manager here at Novatech. Edinburgh University and the Centre for Cognitive Ageing and Cognitive Epidemiology have been a customer of mine for about 3 years and a customer of Novatech for about 9 years. Dave Leval approached me with a requirement for a new machine. The requirement was born from a new data set coming in from UK Biobank. The data was huge and it would have been too restrictive to work on one of their current servers. So we architected a new system. The system revolved around the Intel Xeon E7-8890V3. The great thing about that chipset, it allows us to add a whole 3 terabytes of RAM, and we could also add in the same box 72 terabytes of raw storage, as well as a couple of SSDs for their operating system. So the whole system ran very fast, crunched through their data quicker than anything else, and also allowed them to hit much bigger data sets than ever before. Obviously this went through an open tender process, so they approached a couple of our competitors. They put through their own idea of what the solution could be, but ultimately we won the tender and we've managed to build the system for them.
My name is Dave Leval and I'm the systems analyst programmer for Case in the group, and I'm responsible for these things and also dealing with the data problems that we have, which just seem to keep growing, and is the reason that we need to build bigger and bigger systems to deal with them. I joined Ian about 10 years ago, and when we started it was possible to do the work on a fairly large stand-up PC. However, as things have progressed, it's become heavier and heavier on the processing and memory side to try and get things done. We started off with maybe a single Pentium. We're now working with 4 Xeons on board and 3 terabytes of RAM. The 4 Xeons are giving us 144 processing threads. So we can now work on the data in a multiprocessor environment, which speeds everything up, and also we can load the data that we're analysing virtually all into memory at the same time without having to go into swap disk, which gives us a major speed advantage when we're running our processes. For example, we were running a process that went into memory swap and took about 3.5 to 4 weeks. On the new machine, without going into the memory swap, that process will run in 2 days. We can get that processing time down into a workable space of time. We've got about 1,300 people left in the Lothian Birth cohort study. So you multiply that up, we're talking on the genetics alone about 400 terabytes of data, which is no mean feat to store and analyse. This came upon us probably about 6 months ago, and I was given the task, unenviable task, of figuring out what to do with it. And at that point I got in touch and said, look, you know, we're in a bit of a pickle here, we need to do something quite quickly. And we were able to put together a solution fairly quickly, which has allowed us to bring the data down and store it within the unit. Trying to move this data about to analyse it elsewhere across any sort of network is unbelievably slow. We had to move the data across Edinburgh to get it here, and it took us 4.5 months. You can probably understand why we need the data next to the processing. Similarly, the processing, we needed to put together a custom build system that would allow us to address the data with the software that we're using. In the end, it came down to having to do a custom build. To get that machine done took a fair amount of design and back and forth, but we've got it, and it really, really helps us with addressing the problems that we have.